Greetings. Good evening. How are you? Happy full moon. Happy full moon. Welcome to, and say it. Welcome to
Hey, radio.
A Radio. It's Healing Time with Sappho Fulton and Jahan Smith. I'm so grateful to have you in the audience this evening. I really am super excited. I want to fix my hair because I just took my hat off and I just want to make sure everything is all right. I should have did a camera check, a mirror check before I started. So, happy 12/12. Happy 12/12. What does that mean? That means this is the last full moon of this decade. That's like another decade. You know, I sat today for a moment. Well, last night, I guess I started reflecting as you know, my life has been transitioning intentionally for the past couple weeks. Um, but I set this I started last night. I started reflecting back over the last decade. And I was like, wow. And I almost minimized my accomplishments in the last decade. You know, I'm such an overachiever. I can be such an overachiever at times. Like, it's never just enough. You know, I'll look at my last decade and I'll be like, you know, I'm not a billionaire. I can't stop. It's not enough. You know, but I had to kind of like talk nice to myself and give myself, you know, permission to say, like, you've done a great deal in the past decade. And I invite you to reflect back over this past decade since 2010 and reflect on, you know, your accomplishments and what you've done, you know, what not what you could have done different, you know, just what you've done, you know. And I've done a lot, me personally. You know, I've lived in another country, I've traveled to several countries, I've published a book, I've started a business, I bought a home, you know, I've raised and birthed a couple new grandchildren, I've been married, you know, I've started and ended several jobs. I've done a lot, but what I've done more importantly than anything that made so much of a difference to me is that I've grown up in 10 years. I really have grown up in 10 years. I thought about like a decade ago, 2010, I was graduating from CCP with my associates, you know, and I'm saying it like that because I went back to school at 42. Um, and I remember I was so excited. I was so excited. I had, you know, I had many opportunities to attend many different colleges, but I wanted to go to Temple University. So shout out to the TU graduates because I went to TU, I went to Temple University, and you know, I wanted to go there because they had an African American college. And I don't want to talk about my 10 years of success. I just want to say that this past 10 years has been nothing short of different for me. But what I got in touch with is that I've developed my brand. You know, I've done some epic shit. And I've sustained visibility in this community in a healthy way to the best of my ability. You know, so what I'm saying is that, you know, like this new moon is I invite you to let go and release all things that, you know, kind of seem like an extra baggage for you. I invite you to burn it out, you know, to let it go. Like Elsa, like let it go, let it go. You know, it's coming up on a brand new decade. That's a serious term. You know, yeah, that's a serious turn of events. You know, and the one thing I want to share with you is this that if you haven't decided to do so, you still have time because the moon is still up and it's still flourishing. Please put yourself a white candle up, a clear glass of water, maybe some white flowers with a white cloth on the table, and ask your ancestors for guidance. May your ancestors guide you through. You know, I invite you to bring in this new decade with great energy. I invite you with an abundance of blessings. I invite you to have an overflow of blessing, you know, that you may bless others. You know, stay tuned for the next chapter of my life. I just filed for a an official foundation, which is called Sappho Fulton's Foundation. and I will be within the next year. I'm going to say 6 months. But within the next year, I will be the sister program in the city of Philadelphia that will give and fund other organizations, because there's just a few of us that fund LGBTQ plus women of color organizations. So Sappho and the Royces Foundation is just that. We birthed the nonprofit that, sustains visibility and decreases violence, domestic violence among LGBTQ and women of color. So Sappho Fulton's foundation will be a philanthropy organization that will do programming, consultation, and it will also raise money to give away money to other organizations. And I'm looking for board members. I'm open to board members. I'm open to board support. I am open to volunteers. I am looking for an accountant. I'm looking for a lawyer. Money makes you, money changes us. Money changes us. And a lot of my sisters have made some, very careless and reckless moves, and I get excited when I get a lot of money, and I don't want to plan on being broke. So, I need some help. I need some help. I need some help, honey, on these numbers. Numbers make me nervous. So I be like, I'm just saying. So, yeah. So without further ado, I want to introduce, I'm silly, but I'm serious. I'm laughing, but I am so serious. Without further ado, Harriet Sisters Home is open, which is a drop-in crisis center for domestic violence issues. You can call the landline 24 hours of the day. Let me give you this number. Please pass it on. If you know somebody that is in an emergency crisis that's LGBTQ identified, please contact us at this number, 610-492-0590. Again, that's 610-492-0590. We have clothing, we have emergency supplies, we have emergency housing, and we have a referral system throughout the city of Philadelphia, where is that we can send you out to hopefully find shelter within the next 72 hours. But we definitely are an emergency crisis center. If you cannot reach that number, you can always call me on my personal cell phone, which is 267-756-0400. And I invite you, if you're in a healthy relationship, I invite you to, donate. Always donate. You can donate directly on the website at www.sapphosandroycesfoundation.org. And there's a donate button. Just push it and drop your money in there, and we can always, use supplies. We can use bed linen. We are looking right now to crowdfund for a washing machine and dryer, and 2 bunk beds. So if you know anybody, let me know. And that's that. So we've had fun. Happy full moon. It's healing time. It's healing time. And its healing time is always focused on the rhetoric of intergenerational trauma, trying to push through, trying to find an answer, trying to understand, what we need to do to move into a posture of healing. How did we get here? Almost like it was stuck. What is most liberating is finding sisters, because we put it out there in the universe, and now the universe provides. We were looking for the women of color to come together, and so we can kind of join forces and understand what the necessary tools are to heal. Because it's one thing to understand the importance of, hey, my radars are up, my relationship isn't healthy, I need to make a decision to get in something healthy. That's a whole process. I need to get healthy. I need to make a decision. I need to make a plan. I need to make an exit strategy. I need to figure it out. That's a whole process right there in and of itself. And then you get out. So I can hear me. I'm echoing. Philly. I'm echoing. The one thing that's imperative is talking about healing once you're out. You know, what's that process look like? Because many times one of the barriers to sustainability of coming out of domestic violence relationships is not only staying out, but understanding how to develop a self-care plan and how to actually heal. You know, we could say it's healing time. I want to take care of myself. I want to love myself. I love myself more. I don't want to be in that. But what does that plan look like? You know, what does that strategy look like for us? So we've invited guests in this evening. Give us a second. All right, so without further ado, I thought you could see her. She's doing all this stuff over there, and I'm like so nervous, and I thought you could see you. All right, so without further ado, I want to introduce. I guess I'm like, what are you doing? And I'm looking at the engineer, right? So it was kind of distracting me, so I was distracting myself. But I want to introduce our guests. I want to welcome our guests, and I want to introduce our guests. Shannon Jahan Smith. Shannon Jahan Smith will be one of the authors that does a Q&A at this. I guess you want to know what all this red, black, and green flag stuff is here. Aha. On January the 18th, we're hosting Philadelphia's first Black Business Expo. If you're in the area or you're in Philadelphia and you're an entrepreneur and you got a business, even if you got a business plan, but if you got a business and you got a product, I need you to get with me, because myself and Gemini Gems, we are going to host one of the largest venues in the city of Philadelphia, and we are super hyped, and we're making it affordable. We're making it accessible. We're trying to understand, like, listen, how can we reach the masses? How can we support one another? We don't have, and this is no shade on nobody's event, because it is what it is. Some events charge vendors almost a month's mortgage. When you're trying to get started, they'd be like $2,500, $250, $75. Like, listen, I am no shade. I am well on my way getting there. But right now, the tables are $30. We want to make it affordable. We want everybody to live. We want everybody to eat. We want everybody to make some money. So, and I don't want to have just all vendors. So, what I ask you to do is not only just purchase a table, but also give out information to at least 10 of your friends, so we can have, like, because it's 40 plus vendors. If each vendor invites at least 10 people to buy a ticket, $10 a purchase, we'll have a successful event. So without further ado, that's Black Business Expo, January 18th at the Rotunda on 4014 Walnut Street. I'll post more information on my page at Sappho Fulton. Now, I want to introduce Shannon Jahan Smith, and I'm going to read something from her book. Her book is called Tears Behind the Veil. This was my gift tonight. She brought me in a book. So next time you come in for an interview, if you have anything, can you bring me something? I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, please, and thank you. Tears Behind the Veil. It's heavy. It's heavy for a lot of reasons, and I'm going to tell you why. Shannon Jahan Smith is a multi-talented, multifaceted Philadelphia native. As a single mother of three, she has done what is necessary to provide for herself and her family since becoming a mother of a tender age of 15. 2 decades later, Shannon Jahan Smith decided to organize her thoughts, poetry, and notes into a self-help memoir, bearing her soul for the world to see in hopes that her experiences, struggles, and research will assist others. Every day has a story to tell. Shannon Jahan Smith's debut, Tears Behind the Veil, is a powerful story and the first in its an installment of psychology and relationship-based writing aimed at assisting her community in our never-ending search for healing, happiness, and personal fulfillment. With that, would y'all welcome Shannon Jahan Smith?
Hey, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It is like I'm glad we crossed paths. It just came to me. Sister shared it on social media about this event. And then that event led to me reaching out to you, and it led to me here. So everything happens for a reason. The title of your show and the topic that I write about, or they coincide. They go hand in hand. So Tears Behind the Veil and It's Healing Time, we were meant to meet. And hopefully this is just the beginning of a long relationship of healing for you and me and anybody else out there who is trying to figure out how to get over that hump. You know, like you were talking about, like we have this plan, we see that there's something wrong, or we're in situations that we want to get out of, but it's a whole process. Like you said, you know, how do you do that? What does that look like? And where do you begin? And then there's another process. So when I wrote this book, I was in the process. I was in it. And this book is my journal. Like it says, you know, I was bearing my soul. This wasn't, I didn't sit down and think of scenarios and decide to put together a made up situation. This was all me journaling. So it's very personal, but it's very real. And once I got out of the situation that I was in, I decided to share it because I saw how many women I was surrounded by who were in the same situation. But I just saw that they didn't have enough fight to me. I didn't see them really fighting or trying to understand how they got where they were and really trying to get out. They were kind of just like, you know, well, this is where I am. And, you know, this is just what it is. But at some point, you have to take control of the situation, like mentally, right? And I feel like that starts with acceptance. I think that's the first step to healing is acceptance. Even if you sit with people who go to AA or, you know, any type of counseling or anything, the first thing you have to do is acknowledge that there's a problem, right? So once you do that, then you can start to heal. So this book was the most recent turn of events in many toxic relationships that I've been in with friends and family and lovers and all types of situations. So this is hopefully the end. But the next books that I have to follow will go all the way back to my childhood because I that's where it starts. You know, who taught you how to love? What did love look like in your household? You know, because all that set the path for where you are today. So that's where that started. So right now, like on my Facebook page at Writing to Heal, not my Facebook, my Instagram, Writing to Heal 1101. A lot of the quotes on my page are from myself, you know, and I say things like, you know, like we talk about acceptance. That's first. I'm trying to break a cycle of, you know, low self-esteem, not knowing how to love yourself, you know, knowing what love looks like, you know, especially for women. A lot of times we put everything that we have in us out, you know, and then we don't have anything left. So that's what all my writing is about. It's about healing. It really started to help myself. And then so many people came to me and was like, oh my gosh, I felt you were talking to me. Oh my goodness, I've been in your shoes. Oh my goodness, I felt like I was reading about myself. So I just decided to keep going. You know, everything happens for a reason. So if I had to go through this to help someone else, then that's what it is.
I want to thank you for going through and growing through and pushing through. I want to thank you for not, you know, unapologetically sharing your truth.
Mm-hmm.
To our listening audience and our viewers, you know, Shannon is Muslim. Tears Behind the Veil. One of the things that is a taboo in a lot of cultures, and especially in Islam, is do you mind if I get wrong?
I'd like to hear your thoughts, because the reason why I want to hear your thoughts, right, on my title is because I've had many different opinions on what this title means, right? And a lot of times people's opinions on the title and me being Muslim get crossed. So I want you to finish your thought and we'll see what page you're on.
Okay. All right. So thank you. Thank you. Because, you know, sometimes I can be a little direct, and I just have to really, I have learned, you know, through bumps and bruises to ask permission, you know, to be, you know, straightforward. one of the things I wanted to say is that Saffron Oasis Foundation, which is I'm the CEO and executive director of, is that we work with not only LGBTQ women of color, but we work with and women of color. So I wanted to put it out there that Jahan is talking about her experience with a brother, with a Muslim man. And I wanted to really put that out there because most of the women that you'll see that I bring in here, they're same gender loving women. I often talk about same gender loving relationships, and I often work with organizations that work with same gender loving identified persons specifically. I was a little nervous because I met Jahan tonight for the first time. And then when she came in, I was like, I knew she was heterosexual, right? But I didn't know she was Muslima, and I was just like, whoa, okay.
How do I say it?
You know what I mean? So I was like, okay, I'm open. I'm wide open, because what's beautiful about that is that, it's going to take the sisters, all of us as community, because like Audre Lorde said it, without community, there is no liberation. Like, it takes community to sustain one another. Like we need one another. And although my organization says, I specifically work for Black and brown women, I invite European American women as our allies. Like I invite women of color to come in as our allies. Like we need one another because, systematically we vibrate together, like spiritually we vibrate together, so when we talk about the tools for healing, we each one teach one. So back to my first statement, behind the veil. I thought that she was talking about, being a Muslim woman in a marriage and not being able to share her truth. I practiced Islam for some years, a lot of years ago. And the one thing that I knew that if you had secrets or if you had problems, you took it to the rug, you took it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You did not expose what was happening with you outside of the rug, period. Unless it was to your family, to you and your Zoj, or your husband. But you or your sisters, but you took your problems to the rug first, and you trusted Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would guide you and cure whatever was going on. If it was drug addiction, if it was abuse, if it was infidelity, whatever the issue was, you took it to the rug. And hence I want to tie the link. Flow with me. And women of color relationships. I mean, women of color in a broad sense, not all women of color, but in a broad sense, in the Black and brown community, in our culture, we kept our secrets at home. Mm-hmm. What we do in the house, what happens in the house, it stays in the house. That was a real family law.
Yeah, even the toxic things.
You understand? So, tears behind the veil. It is one of the pillars of Islam to be married. Mm-hmm. So to be married and to talk about being in an abusive relationship. And I remember when we talked on the phone, when we did like a little pre-interview before we met in person, you talked about like I stayed a long time because I really just believed that they would change. Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing that with me. Mm-hmm. Thank you for trusting me with that, with that information, because like that's real. And I've stayed a long time, a lot of times in relationships that were very toxic, not just one, but many of them, hoping that the situation would change. Mm-hmm. Either I would change and get some help. I would go get outside help. I would take, I would do anything to make it work at certain points in my life. I would take medication. I would seek psychiatric help.
You're fighting.
Yeah, you understand what I'm saying? Like, I would do everything until I learned how to go inside. Mm-hmm. And that's a journey that we're going to talk about because we talk about the tools to what makes it work. Mm-hmm. And, you got to go deep. You got to touch that little girl. You got to go talk to the core of where that pain starts. Exactly. And you got to start there. And you got to open up and you got to sit with her. Mm-hmm. And you got to be
difficult. That's difficult.
Yeah, it's difficult.
That's very difficult. and a lot of the things that you're saying are right here. I can't wait till you read it.
I'm excited.
You're going to see some of the words that have already come out of your mouth in this book, and you're going to have wow moments, because you're going to say what many women have already said when they read it, is that, oh my gosh, is this me talking? I feel like I'm talking to myself. And these are things that women, we all think it, we all go through a lot of these things, but we don't talk about it. Or if you talk about it, you may be talking to a person that's not ready to heal. So they're being judgmental. They're not being open to your story. They're not really listening, because they've either passed that level and they healed now. Because you know how people get, once they get on a certain level, they're healed. Now they're looking at you like, oh, she doing that. She in that abusive relationship. And look at her. But when you were there, you wanted understanding. So I always try to be that person that understands everything from everybody. Another thing that you said.
That's heavy. That's a heavy load to carry.
Yeah, it's the load. You're right. It's the load, and it could become a burden, because I stayed in this marriage because I have so much understanding. I understood his childhood. I understood the things that he went through. I understood his family background. I understood how the prison system can affect a man's mindset. I understand PTSD. I understand anxiety. So all this understanding kept me in a situation that was breaking me down, because I was being so understanding to where he came from, and so trying to help because of the little girl. The little girl in me didn't have anybody to come save her. So now I'm running around a grown woman trying to save everybody.
Did you feel like it was your duty as a Muslim wife?
So, yes, but also as just being Shannon, right? Since we have such a broad audience here, right? On your end, on my end, Black women, religious backgrounds, all these different women and people who have trauma, right? We want to be relatable. So before Islam, I've been this person, right? And I think what happened was, like you said, and you have you practice Islam. So I took a lot to the rug, right? That I didn't speak about. But then it came to a point where you keep taking something to the rug and it's not healthy for you, then that's oppression. That's not what your Lord wants for you, to be sad and oppressed and beat on and stuff like that. So you got to find, there's a line, there's somewhere you draw the line.
There's a hadith. I feel so like, I'll drop your cards. I want to get them, but I don't want to bend down while I'm on camera. But there's a hadith in Islam that says that you can beat your wife gently. Did you think that when you were in the relationship and they were putting their hands on you, that was a part of the Islamic code because you were married?
No, not at all.
Or you understood
not at all.
It was abuse?
Yeah.
So why did you stay?
Because I felt
Stop. Don't answer that. I apologize.
No, it's okay.
No, it's not okay. Because I know better. I don't want to say why did you stay. I want to understand. I really don't. I want to understand what were your thoughts
while I was
sustaining the relationship. It's the same thing, but it's a different approach, because why you stay is also, it's like a conviction,
right?
Like you're a bad person,
right.
Decision. Like,
yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on where the person that you're asking, where their mind is at.
I don't want to say it like that. I want to say, like, what was let me say this. Let me ask you this. How long did you stay in this marriage?
It was quick, to be honest. It felt like 10 years, right? It was really only a year and a half.
That's a long time.
It was a year and a half. That kind of stretched, it kind of spanned out into like 3 or 4 years, back and forth, breaking up, in and out of shelter, things like that. Because, but back to the question you asked me and you backed out of it. The reason why I said it's okay to ask that is because I want people to understand that there is that portion, the why you stay portion, right? That people who've never been in an abusive relationship won't understand, right? Outside looking in, people say, well, why did she stay? Why didn't she just leave? That's because they don't understand abuse. It's not coming home every day and getting thrown down the steps. It's a mental game. It's a whole plot. It is a whole blueprint on how the abuser keeps you there, right? First of all, an abuser is intelligent. They know everything about you. You've confided in them. They know your strengths. They know your weaknesses. They know your wants. They know your desires. They know that you love them. You know, they know that you want whatever it is they're pretending to give you in that moment, right? To get you back. Because we know there's moments when they usually anybody, if they describe their abuser, they're probably they probably at some point thought they were the best lover they ever had, as far as making them feel wanted, making them feel appreciated, you know, buying them things, giving them things they never had. My abuser took me from a 1-bedroom apartment to a 3-bedroom house in the beginning. From the outside, it was everything that I thought that I wanted. He's stable, he's intelligent, he has a business, he, you know, he's taking care of me, he's, you know, helping me raise my children, he's teaching me things, he's doing all of these things. But then there's another side to that where the abuse came in, and it doesn't last long. So you sit there sometimes trying to weigh out, okay, this much abuse and this much of everything that I want. So you get stuck in that, right?
Do you ever feel like if I hadn't have said certain things, if I didn't say it like that, he would
Oh,
never
yes. Yes.
Like
yeah, you go
blaming
through that.
yourself for
Oh, of
what?
course, it's part of abuse. It's part of it. You start to learn how to avoid being abused. You're walking on eggshells. You have anxiety, you have PTSD, you lose weight, you don't sleep. And then when you're out of it, the relationship, you feel like a weight was lifted off of you. And then everything starts to make sense. Now you don't have anxiety anymore. You might still have a little bit, depending on what type of abuse you've been through. But all of those things that you thought were wrong with you, it was never even you.
Did you ever body shame? Did you ever feel like something was wrong with your body because, like, body shame yourself? Like, I'm not enough. I'm ugly. Nobody else is going to want me. I should stay. Like feeling like, you know, I'm not happy with me, or nobody else is going to be attracted to me. I need to stay in this
Some of
relationship.
that. There was some of that. But more so, you know, trying to, you know, another part of it was trying to do what I didn't see done was a marriage last. So I did a lot of saying, you know, how do couples stay married 40, 50, 60 years?
I just want to stay in it.
I want this to work. I want my children, because my children didn't witness a lot of this abuse. They didn't see it. And I saw, you know, I have 2 sons. I wanted my sons to see their mother married. I had my first child when I was 15. So to have 3 children and now be married and have a home, and my husband has a business and I don't have to work, you know, I thought I was living a good life.
Were you submissive? Did you?
I'm naturally submissive.
Are you submissive?
Yeah, I'm naturally submissive.
That's your role as a woman in a marriage.
I do. I'm that. I feel like in a marriage we have roles. I do. And
how do you talk to yourself differently now? What are some of the tools you use now to talk to yourself differently?
I try to reverse my thoughts. I kind of try to take a step away from myself. Like I was telling my son's 22, my oldest son. I was telling him the other day, sometimes you have to look at everything you've been through, right? And then look at yourself again. Because sometimes we look at just where we are right now. You know, you got this bills, you got this stress, you're trying to start a business, you're trying to write a book, you're trying to raise kids, you're trying to do all these things, and you feel like, oh, this is not where I want to be, right? But then, like you talked about your 10 years, look back 10 years ago. Where were you? What did you overcome? Even if you got to look back further, my son feels like he hasn't accomplished enough in life. He's 22. He's in the Army. He doesn't have children. He's married. He's happy. If you take him, and he's lived we grew up down 16th and Erie. So he could have went plenty different ways. He could have been in jail.
Did you know Kevin Hart?
No. No, I didn't. So I was saying to my son, look at yourself, take a step back. I said, you came from a 15-year-old mother. A 15-year-old mother.
Yes. Yes.
We've lived in
Down
shelters. We've lived in hoods. We've done plenty of, we've been in situations where they could have went a different way. I said, but you made it out of that and you're where you are. You're still alive. You're healthy. You got to go back a little further sometimes so you don't be so hard on yourself. So that I do a lot of that, and I do a lot of reflecting.
When you wake up in the morning, what do you say to yourself? What do you say?
Oh, first I thank God for waking me up. That's first.
Do you make salat?
Of course.
That's kind of intrusive. I just wanted to ask you.
That's okay.
Um,
I'm all right with intrusion because
I thank you for
I
being
like
open.
the truth.
I thank you for being open, especially at such a young age, though. You know what I mean? Because that's what it's
Am I
about.
young?
You said you were 15 and he's 22, so that
Yeah.
makes you like 30s, mid 30s.
37.
Yeah, mid 30s.
That's young. I feel so old.
No,
I feel like
I'm 55.
45.
I'm 55. Unlike my friend that never wants to tell her age. I tell my age. I'm 55.
Yeah, I don't care about telling my age. I just sometimes I feel like I just been through a lot. So sometimes I
Yeah.
forget, like, yeah, I'm 37. It's not that old, But
Yeah, it's not really that old.
my journey's been long. So I guess
What do you do different? How do you talk to yourself in the mirror now?
Oh man, I like talking to myself in the mirror. I try to listen to myself more because through a lot of my life, when I look back, I had the answers. I heard them. I heard the right thing to do, but I second guessed myself. So now I try not to second guess myself and really listen to the little voice in my head that says, that's not for you. Or it's time to leave that alone. Or don't answer that phone call. Or go left instead of right or whatever.
Yeah.
I try to listen to all those little things now because I realized that had I listened to them in the past, things would have been different.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't, I don't beat myself up about things that could have been different because everything is where it's supposed to be.
I love that. I asked you about body shaming. I asked you that for a reason. Because a lot of times when you're in an abusive relationship, the first thing that comes to mind for me was always, what's wrong with me?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not good enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm too fat. I'm too skinny. I'm too tall. I'm too short. My butt's not big enough. There's always that body shaming thing that happens. One of the things that I practice now is that I spend time with me. I sit down and I spend time with me. And what that means is that like I literally sit down and make myself lotion myself differently. I spend time looking at myself.
Yeah, I do that
differently.
now. I do that.
I spend time in the shower, and I look at myself in the shower and I let the water run through my toes when I'm in the shower.
You appreciate you.
I appreciate
you learn to
me.
appreciate yourself.
And I talk to myself
it's important.
Differently. I talk to myself differently. I have a different kind of confidence when I talk to myself, and I'm just really learning that. And I wasn't really happy with the weight that I lost, so I decided to do something about it. I got in a gym. I joined a gym and I exercise. And I have a partner that exercises with me, and she's much younger than I am, and she's very committed to her gym attendance. And she's always like, "Come on, Steph, let's go." And in fact, she's coming in tonight. Her and her girlfriend, her and her partners, they're coming in tonight, and they're going to interview, and they're going to talk about from a same-sex relationship and what healing looks like for them. They're running late because she was coming off of work. However, they will be in, but it's good for me because I needed to get community without community, there is no liberation. Like I needed help. I needed help with somebody to take me to the gym and like to push me. I got the membership. I'll go once or twice, but I needed the motivation to push me. Like, come on, we ain't been all week. Let's go. And then go in there with me. And to work out with me.
That rings bells for me. What you said I needed help.
I needed help.
What? Like, I feel like we don't help each other enough as a community. Because when I was in this situation and even other situations that I've been in, it's hard to get like help. And I don't mean like financial help. I don't mean like anybody coming and doing anything for you, but just support. Just calling and saying, man, it's been months and I haven't heard from Shannon, or,
check in.
I don't know what happened where we don't like to help each other.
I can honestly say, like, I have put myself here this in 2019. I am absolutely grateful. I have surrounded myself around some folks that they check in.
Mm-hmm.
I check in on them, but
Mm-hmm.
they actually
It's
check in.
mutual.
It's mutual.
Right.
I got a text tonight from a sister, you know, and she was like, "Are you okay?" Because I was supposed to go to her house, her and her partner's house last week for a Christmas party, and I was like, my wife and I just, went through something, and I'm not really in that, I'm not feeling festive. I don't really feel like coming out.
Mm-hmm.
I'll see you soon.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, "Let me know if you need anything." And I never called her back
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't need anything. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
know I needed anything.
Mm-hmm.
And tonight she texted me and she was like, "How you doing? I just want to check on
And you didn't have to ask her for that.
I'm just thinking about you."
Right.
And it really just brought tears to my eyes because it was just like, wow, thank you.
Doesn't it feels good when you get like genuine support from people that you don't have to beg for. Like I've been in situations like that where I'm on the phone with someone and I say, you know what, I'm just not, feeling, or I've sent out mass texts, I'm really not feeling everybody right now. I'm just going to fall back for a couple weeks. I'm deleting all my social media and I can do that, right? And a week can go by.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody and people will reply like, "Oh, I understand," and you got to do what's best for you, and then that's it.
And that's it. And they'll leave it at that.
And
the
for
one
me,
thing,
I try to keep my eye out for stuff like that.
that's real because really, one thing that I noticed with me is that myself, because I had looked at a pattern in my lifetime, and you said it. I hadn't been in just one abusive relationship. I had been in a few, and the common denominator was me. So I was like, and I didn't really know how to allow folks close to me.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't really know how to have a relationship or a healthy relationship, whether it's platonic, intimate, sexual, or like family or collegial, like work relationship, whatever kind of relationship it is. You don't really know how to have one unless you're in one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to get along with people unless I actually connect with folks.
Right.
So and I say that to say this here, like I had to learn how to let people in.
Right.
I had to learn how to not only just let people in, but answer my phone. I had to learn how to show up for other people. And I had to learn how to let people understand that, listen, I don't think I'm way up here. Like I am approachable and you can be a part of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's important. And I say that to people often, like, you're very important. And I'm going to look at the camera when I say this. You're very important to me. And thank you for being a part of my life because it means a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And that's real. Because one thing about it, like we look for folks to do things for us and we look for folks to check in on us and we look for folks to check up on us. But do we always answer or respond with a openness, or do we push them away? Because I remember times when I used to push folks away from me. Like I wouldn't even answer the text. I'd be like, "Oh, all right," very superficial. But I let people know, like, no, that's important for me. Like, thank you. Like, thank you for thinking about me.
Right.
I moved away from a lot of defense mechanisms. And I said something earlier. I said, like, I had noticed a pattern of being in, a few different relationships. Okay, they won't make it in. The folks that were coming, that's who I was texting. I was trying to see if they were in here. So I noticed a pattern of toxic relationships. Now, this is what drove me to understanding that I needed to go deep and I needed to go inside intentionally and talk to the little girl. How do you do that? What was your experience with talking to the little girl, with connecting with the little girl inside of you?
Oh man, so I talk to my little girl a lot.
How?
Because so firstly, I try to understand her first.
What does that mean? Are we talking about a daughter? Or are we talking about
me,
the little girl in
the
you?
little me, the little girl that is in me still, and is always going to be with me.
Okay.
Right? She's a part of who I am. If I don't talk to her and deal with her, then I can't grow. That's how I feel. Because I feel like most of this, I grew up in an abusive household. My father was abusive to my mother. And that's what I saw. Right? So I already had a distorted image of love. Right? And I also have to understand that when you are a child of an abused mother, the way that she loves you is going to be different, right? She's either going to overlove you because she needs something to hold on to. So I was that for my mother. And then it got to a point where, I got bigger, right? And I think she got scared. And I think she saw herself. So then she didn't know like what to do. I feel like my mom didn't know what to do. Like, what do and she wanted to protect me from so much, right? That she didn't give me anything. Does that make sense?
Yes.
She was so overprotective, trying to protect me from so many things that she didn't give me anything. So I was just out here trying to figure out how to love myself, how to be comfortable in my own skin, how to set up boundaries, finding out what love is all by myself. I didn't have it. So you end up 15 and pregnant. And a lot of times, even people in my family, I'm the black sheep. And I'm not the black sheep because I like to stay away just because I don't want to be bothered. I want to be an outsider. I'm the black sheep because I want healing. I want to talk about what's real so we can love genuinely, right? Because if I'm sitting here talking to you and you're talking to me and there's an issue that we haven't addressed, is what we have genuine? Mm-hmm. I don't think that's a genuine relationship.
Right.
I
understand.
That's like you said you wanted to say something but you didn't know how to say it. I would rather we say what we have to say, connect, agree to disagree, whatever, be here. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So our connection is genuine.
Okay.
We don't have to be best friends, but we have an understanding of what you feel, what I feel, and now whatever we have is genuine.
I understand.
That's how I feel like family should be. If I can't tell my family,
what makes you think that family's supposed to be like that? Who told you that?
Me.
Okay. All by yourself?
All by myself. You
can't choose your family. Your family is who they are. We want to heal the world.
But you do. If you have seen nothing but toxic love, right? Maybe it's like fairy tale for me. I have an idea of what love looks like.
It's so sad too, because we live in this world of expectation. And what I mean by that is that, for me at 55, it was the Leave It to Beaver or the stories on television that I always wanted. That wasn't how it was.
Right.
In my household, I wasn't raised with my natural mother. My biological mother abandoned me at birth. Mm-hmm. And I was raised with a woman. She found me abandoned in a building. Wow. And raised me. And her husband was my idea of love.
Right.
And my dad, because I love my dad. I was a daddy's girl. I didn't know that he wasn't my daddy. I thought he was my daddy. Right. He had gold teeth. He was a hustler. He was a player.
That's what you're attracted to.
You understand what I'm saying?
That's how that goes.
You understand?
Yeah.
So he wore suits. He polished his shoes. He dressed real nice. Like he was that dude. And he loved me. Mm-hmm. But he slept in separate beds from my mom. Mm. And, every weekend he would be at his speakeasy. We would go away to a hotel. And what I understood about relationships was that he made sure we had everything we needed. And she would always say, he's a good provider.
Mm-hmm. So that's enough.
So that was enough. Mm-hmm. He's a good provider. And sometimes I would even sleep in the bed with her. Mm-hmm. Do you understand? Mm-hmm. And I would sleep in the bed with her. And we were laying this way and his bed was that way. Mm-hmm. My mother abused me. I was abused as a child. I was emotionally abused because my mother did the best she could. So for me.
You don't know when you're a child that it's emotional abuse, though.
You don't understand.
You don't know till you go back and look.
Until you grow up and you be like, where does this come from? Like, what is the root of this chakra? Like, where does this come from? And
Listen,
then you go back.
Just learned how to accept compliments.
And that's
I'm shocked when I get compliments.
Listen, women, that's a real thing because women, you could tell a woman a compliment. I promise you could give a woman a compliment and they will say, you could be like, oh, you look nice. Oh, this whole thing.
Yes. Downplay it. Downplay
the compliment. Mm-hmm. For me, love for me looked like, Love for me, it always looked like long as I'm getting it, it's a healthy relationship.
Right.
Didn't have to be no whole lot of really effective communication.
Right.
It just really needed to be long as I'm getting it, long as I'm bringing it home, it's a healthy relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I'm learning today that I really want more. Like I'm a woman that loves intelligent communication.
Yes.
You stimulate me when you talk to me, like when we can talk about anything for hours on the phone, from anything from religion to personal stuff to life changes to visions. Like we can just flow with the conversation and the conversation never gets boring. Like stimulate my mind.
Right.
Don't say whatever you think.
Right.
I want you to think. I want you to stimulate me because
Right.
I'm a vision of hope. You understand? So when you know better, you do better.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things I had to first do was let my mom and dad off the hook.
Oh, I gotta do that. That's hard. When you're healing, that's hard because I feel like, and baby, you know, I'm okay with being wrong. I feel like, right, I'm 37. I have children. I realize something's wrong and I'm trying to break a cycle. I'm trying to heal, right? So I have to look at my children, whatever mistakes they make, whatever imperfections they have about them, whatever is going on with them, I'm partly responsible. Cuz I'm raising them. I'm teaching, I'm their first introduction to the world, right?
Are you?
Yes.
They grown. I thought you said, well, how old you say your son
But
was?
I'm there, but whatever I showed them, I'm responsible for it.
Yeah, you have to go back to that parental relationship.
Yes.
You know, because that thing that you're carrying, that guilt and shame that you're carrying, are trying to fix everybody but Shannon. Like, you know, I think it starts there. Like when you have to go home base 1st.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, my biological mother, I hated her because I was taught that she was a bad person because no woman would leave their child that loves them.
But do you have to understand everybody has a story, right?
I grew up and I left my children.
Yeah.
And it took me leaving my children
to
in order
understand
to understand my mother.
Yeah.
Because the universe will always take you back to a lesson until you get it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's healing time with Sappho Fulton on Thursday nights at 5:30. But you know, yeah, I had to forgive my biological mother, and then I had to understand. And you said it, acceptance is the key. I have to accept things as they are, and then I have to let them go. One of the things that a neurologist told me to give to my daughter about her womb trauma, and I'll give it to you and I'll share it with you, was that she had to wake up every day and say to her father, I thought it was me, but she had to say to her father 3 times a day at least, I love you and I want the best for you.
Oh, man.
And I forgive you. Yeah.
Oh,
so
dang. That's deep, Sappho. I don't even know if I love my father.
Whoa.
Seriously. I know that I want to love him. I want a relationship with him, but I feel like the fight that I have to heal and grow, he doesn't have it.
It's like
so I feel like, how can I connect? Like I feel like now I have this fake connection.
There's nothing fake about
forgiveness. That's how I feel.
There's nothing fake about
I mean, no, I've forgiven him. Like he's forgiven. I'm okay with it. I forgive him. I feel like just he didn't know any better. He didn't know.
There's a lot pieces, you know, in what's natural and what's appropriate for your spiritual growth.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because we put, like, you know, you believe in chakras?
No.
You believe in energy?
Of course.
Chakras. This is a Kundalini stone. Goes up your back. I thought it went up the front. It goes up your back, and it opens up your chakras. It's like a breathe. You work at the hospital. It's like a breathing, like your lungs, like something like a tube that goes through your air, an airway. And that's just how blessings flow. If you got anything inside of there, like anger, resentment, you understand?
Yeah.
Any animosity, You know,
You know what it's said for? I want understanding.
from what?
I just went, and that's what I'm saying. Like maybe that's what's blocking me, right? Is that I want
needs
this
to
real
understand you?
conversation. No, I want to understand my parents.
Why? They don't understand. They haven't
I
gone on the
don't.
journey you
That's the
on.
problem.
It's not
That's
a
what I have to
problem.
stop.
It's not your problem. It's not a problem.
Right.
That's who they are. And
Right.
until they get ready to go on their healings path,
Mhm.
and until they get ready to, do what they need to do in order to move past that,
Mhm.
then they won't be ready until they're
So
ready.
is that me blocking it because I want that so like from them so bad?
Yeah, it's a conditional relationship.
It's blocking me
if this
from
doesn't, if this reality never happened, this is what you said. If this reality never happened,
Right.
if this is not my truth, then I'm not going to move forward.
right. No, I'm going to move forward, but you're not
You
going with
can.
me.
You
I'm going to
can.
move forward, but they're not going.
You can.
I can't.
You can't. You can't move forward without understanding and healing the umbilical cord that you connected to.
I can't disconnect it.
No, how you want to talk to a little girl and you can't talk to your parents?
Oh. Well, that's enlightening. I thought I could just
like
cut them off.
no.
You don't want to grow. You don't want to have this real conversation with me, and so that we could have something
Everybody's
real.
not ready to open up a womb and talk about that
Why
stuff.
not? That's how you get to the other side.
No, it's just you say it three times a day. I love you and I forgive you. I love you and I forgive you. To your father, I love you and I forgive you. That will begin your journey of healing.
Mhm.
You have to reconnect, because one of the worst things to do for parents is to, in my experience, is causing PTSD or trauma to a child.
Mhm.
You can't really stop in the heat of the moment from arguing. Real clear.
Mhm.
You want to argue, you want to fight, you toxic as fuck. You haven't really gotten any resolution on how to respond to your emotions in any healthy manner. So you do what you do. When you angry, you just snap out. You're a snap out artist. You just snap out, you argue, you hollering, and next thing you know, you swinging and you hitting. It happens. But what doesn't happen in that moment is your awareness that, hey, I got a child here looking at me.
Mhm.
And when you look at, and I'm talking from a third party perspective, like, and even in my own experience, like when you look back and you look at the child, you like, damn, I can't even say I apologize to them because I meant what I said when I said it. I haven't even dealt with that emotion yet. You understand? I haven't even dealt with that feeling yet. You know, yeah, and it's complicated. But in order for you to be able to have that conversation with that little girl, because the little girl inside of us that saw all the abuse, that saw, for me, my dad that slept in a separate bed, my dad that never touched my mother, and on his deathbed looked at me and said, "You the man of the house. I need you to take care of home." And I remember I found a pillow in my basement that said Sam the man with the master plan, because in my mind, my dad said, I'm the man.
Mhm.
I wasn't no stone cold butcher, nothing like that. I just knew in my mind I was the provider. So I
Right.
assumed that.
Mhm.
And that was my relationship with my dad. And I carried my dad's cross from his casket for like 8 years after that in my pocket. Um, I was traumatized when my dad left.
Mhm.
And I didn't throw and so I share that to say with you that, I had to let my dad go. My dad wasn't healthy or unhealthy,
Mhm.
but I looked for my dad in my partners for several years after that. I kept looking for my dad. I almost saw my dad in cars. I would be looking around, trying to find my dad.
That's
'Cause
in my book.
I couldn't believe my
Looking
dad.
for your dad.
I couldn't believe my dad was gone. I couldn't believe my dad was dead. I could find my dad. I'm looking for my dad. And the relationships, are you giving to me? Are you providing for me? Are you like my dad?
Mhm.
Am I providing for you? Am I like my dad? Am I doing my part in this relationship? Like it was always trying to find my dad. I was like, yo, daddy, just rest in peace.
Mhm.
Rest in peace. I need to let you go. And I need to tell you that, I had the best 10 years of my life with you. Thank you. I love you and I forgive you and I let you go. You got to heal there. You got to start there for you. Because for me, under hearing your story, it feels like, that has become very normalized for you in relationships. This is what a man does. He provides, but he whips your ass if you get out of line. And your role is to take care of your children. Because that's all you've talked about is I need to talk to my son. I need to make sure my children got it. I need to make sure I get married so my children can see it. I need to make sure I do this for my children. Like I had my child at a young age. I got to make sure they, like, my role is my children, like your mother. Like
it's
learn
family. For me, it's family.
And
that's what drives me is family. So I'm like hanging on to trying to build this family that I feel like I didn't have. You know what I mean? But not what's in here, just like a healthy family. Like, it's probably fairy tale, like you said, or you see it on TV, like the Cosbys or something.
It doesn't have to be fairy tale.
It doesn't even have to be fairy tale, but I want it, whatever it is, to be genuine.
Listen, and you can have that. You're a beautiful sister. You got a good job. You're very smart. You're a wonderful mother. You got grown children. You raised a black man in the millennials. Like, baby, hunt, listen. Sister, you've done a remarkable job. You've published a book. Like, you're a strong black woman. You take risks. You're non-partial. Like, you don't discriminate. You like, I just want to help people get better. You got a hell of a story to tell. Growing up watching abuse, like, you got a heck of a story to tell. But now it's time to give yourself permission to heal. Because it's healing time.
Right.
It's healing time. And what are some of the tools that we use to move forward? Hey, we have to learn to talk to ourselves different. We have to reflect on, our journey and appreciate our accomplishments. Got to recognize our strength. Like, we got to own that thing. My gym partner laughs at me because when I finish working out, I always do a stance in the mirror and I'll be like, I'm losing weight. And she laugh at me because, like, she think it's funny. I'll be like, no, listen, I need to tell myself.
Yeah.
I'm okay with me. I talk to me different. I surround myself with my tribe. Like, I surround myself with folks that are, I saw this thing today. I swear it meant so much to me. It was like, my friends always do this to me because the person was walking and they was walking like this. They said, my friends always do this. Pick your head up. And that's the friends that I surround myself with because they tell me every day, like, you could do this. You got this.
And you need that. I mean, that's a necessity. Like, that's a necessity in life.
But I got that because I learned how to do that for me.
Yeah. So that's how it works, right?
Your vibe
that's how it works. Your tribe. That's right.
Your vibe attract your tribe. And you know what that means? Your vibe, how you treat you, is what you're going to attract to you.
That's the hard part, right? You're teaching yourself how to do things that you never saw done. Right? Because that's what I feel like I'm doing.
But you're doing a good job.
I'm like raising myself. Basically.
You got to rebrand it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
starting. I'm really starting from scratch. I'm really like you said, I'm talking to myself different. I'm being more confident. Because when you grow up and you don't hear that, you don't get those pats on the back. My daughter is going to be 16 in February. She can draw like nobody's business and never went to anybody's art school. And I think to myself, how did she get like that? And then I think back and I say, well, every time she brought me a stick figure, I put it on the wall. Like it was drawn by Picasso or somebody. And now she could draw you in 5 minutes. And I said, dang, that's because she had that confidence. We built confidence in her.
You should bring some of her artwork
by making her. Yeah, that's a good idea.
One thing to let people look at it and admire it and see it. Let's do it because like that's a real thing.
I believe in it.
I believe in empowering.
I didn't have that growing up.
Yeah,
I didn't have anybody saying, "Oh my God, I've been writing poetry since I was 7."
Wow.
I was in poetry contests in elementary school.
Okay.
It's always been my outlet, but nobody was saying, "Oh my gosh, you wrote this? This is beautiful. Let me see that. Oh my gosh, Shannon, wow." I didn't hear that. I didn't hear that growing up. So it was just something that I just did. So now I have to teach myself to be confident. I have to tell myself, this is awesome. And I have to accept it when people say it to me.
Okay.
When you're not used to hearing it, you don't know how to accept it. It feels weird. It doesn't feel right. It feels like, oh, you talking to me? Who, me? I wrote that. It's like that. Even when I read it, I'm like, oh my gosh, is that my quote? Wow, that's amazing.
I'm excited. I'm excited to hear, the expo. We're going to do some some Q&A, and we're going to talk more about this book. I think we did a hell of a jumping in, but by the time we have this event on January the 18th, I'll have read it. And then I could ask you some direct questions from this book. I'm also a published author, and I never talk about my book.
I heard you say that.
I never talk about my book. I did a book of poetry, and I self-published it, and I had some typos, and I was just like, I don't want to tell people about my book, but no, I'm a self-published author. I have a book. It's called Sappho's Remix, and it was my beginning of my healing journey. I remember when I published my book. It's on Amazon. You can find it. I remember when I first published my book. I published my book in, I think, 2007.
Wow.
I remember I used to look up words every day, and I used to find a word, and I used to write a poem to that. And
it's writing exercises.
Yeah, I teach poetry. I teach writing poetry for trauma, healing.
It's a good outlet.
Through poetry, yes. So, and I remember when I would write the poem, and I would look at the poem, and I was like, "Wow, this is amazing."
At your own work, right?
At my own work.
That's a wonderful feeling.
Yeah. So, I'm working on a daily affirmation book right now, which should be published. Matter of fact, I'm going to put that on my vision board. I think I'll have that out by the end of this year. It's a daily affirmation book. It's a self-healing book. I do a lot of writing as well, and I haven't written in a while because I've been in school, and I'm in a doctoral program now. So most of my writing is in my schoolwork.
Right.
But I have a book actually written. I just wanted to edit it, and I'm going to send it to a publisher, because that was one of the things that discouraged me with my first self-published book, was that I hadn't sent it to an editor, and I had some edits in it. So I needed some corrections, some grammatical corrections that were necessary. So I didn't push it as hard.
Mm-hmm.
However, I have a book. I'm proud of my book. I'm self-published, and it's on Amazon. So, but writing a book is real. I love writing, and I encourage anybody to write. That's one of the things that I said yesterday. I was like, if you wake up and you had a dream and you remember your dream, then start writing.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a message that somebody's trying, your ancestors are trying to talk to you. So we need to write more. We used to keep diaries years ago.
Oh, I still do.
I don't know what generation. I think maybe it was a mass gap. I don't want to say the crack epidemic, but the crack age, I think, stopped us from keeping the little journal books with the keys. Because I remember when I was a kid, we used to have a journal, and they sell them in the dollar store now, but it's no joke. Like, we really used to, everybody had a journal, and you had the little key in there. And you used to lock your little journal and nobody, and the key was right there on the thing, but like nobody would open your journal book. You know what I mean? Because you kept all your secrets in the journal.
I taught my children journaling.
Did you?
Yeah.
Journaling,
I always wanted them to have an
tool
outlet
to healing.
Yeah. I always, I always try to go back and say, what was I missing as a kid, and give it to my kids. And I'm talking about like mental
That's
things.
Beautiful.
Right. So I wasn't able to communicate my feelings in my household.
Mm-hmm.
Without feeling shame or whatever, if I wanted to talk about, boys or, how I was feeling or changes with my body, I couldn't do that without getting shut down. Everything was, no, you don't talk about that, So I always wanted my children to be able to talk to me. And if you can't talk to me, then we'll find you somebody who you can talk to. And if you can't talk to anybody, then here's a book. Write me a letter.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I always taught my kids, whatever, if you can't say it to me in words, write it to me a letter, put it under my room door.
That's powerful. That's something that, because I was in this relationship, and it was extremely toxic, and I couldn't talk to this woman, and I learned to text her. Mm-hmm. And she would be like, why are you texting me? And I'm just like,
because you don't listen.
You don't.
So maybe you're
me.
A reader.
You don't hear me. So read it. Because if I talk to you, you're going to start hollering.
Mm-hmm. I was in a relationship where I used to write letters. I would leave for work. I would write him a letter, go to work, and he would talk to me about it, or he'd write a letter back.
That's in the 5 love languages of love.
Writing letters.
It's like, it's a form of communication. When you have unhealthy communication in a relationship, they say, like, you have this journal, and if you want to leave a message for them, thank you for writing me a poem. I mean, writing me something in here too. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You write to your partner
Mm-hmm.
what you need
Mm-hmm.
and leave it. And by the end of the night, they'll answer you at the bottom of it.
Nice.
And then you come back and you read that. And you can commute and learn to communicate better with that. You know, that's a form of communication in unhealthy relationships as well. So, but yeah, so we've had a wonderful conversation tonight. Again, folks, and thank you again.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
I'm
for
excited
coming
about
out.
this expo too. This will be my first event.
Are you serious?
I'm very serious.
Well, you're in for a treat. I have two other authors that are coming. Yours is about healthy relationship. I have a sister that's coming out that's going to do a talk about her book, and it was Jay Wants to Play, and she has an autistic child. She was a single parent. She was raising an autistic child, and he just wanted to play with the other children. And another sister that talks about there's two sides and then there's the truth. That's Jamie Reagan. So I'm excited to see the three of you. I tried to get a guy. You know, I'm pro-woman, but I didn't go out there looking for all women authors. But we got three sisters that are writing, that have written a book, the books are published, and we're bringing them to the stage. And we want to have those conversations with them about, you know, what it's like to be not only a published author, but what was it like, you know, the journey of getting the information from your spirit to the book. Because a lot of us talk about wanting to write our stories. We all want to write our stories because we come from ancestors that wrote journals. So this thing's gonna be epic.
I'm excited.
Epic. I got a lot of things coming up, but I'm really pushing this because I really want folks to come. This is the first time. There was one done in Maryland. Philadelphia hasn't done this. Black Business Expo. 40 vendors, natural artisans, and authors. Like, your vibe attract your tribe. 2020. So 2020, without further ado, I'm excited. I gotta pick these cards up. Like, I'm really tripping about these cards that I dropped. These are business cards. So is there anything you want to say?
No, I mean, I enjoyed sitting here talking with you. Like you said, the vibe is definitely there. It was there from the moment that I got this information in my box, and everything's just been linking up the way that it's supposed to go.
You a seamstress too?
I'm a seamstress too.
I didn't mean to cut you off.
I
design clothes.
Yes.
Can you make men's suits?
I have not tried. So right, there's a lot. I've only been sewing. I'm self-taught. I started sewing probably 2 years ago.
You're so gifted and so talented.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I started a few years ago self-taught because I was like, YouTube. I was like, oh my gosh, that's so easy. I'm not spending no more money on all this stuff. I'm just doing it myself.
From YouTube?
And then I started getting compliments on the things that I was wearing. So I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm broke and I'm talented. So I'll start a business. And at the same time, I was writing my book. So I started the book and I started the seamstress all at one time. So it was like, okay, which one am I going hard at? So I did this and I went hard on that. And then so now like the last year I've really been trying to go hard on the, you know, the other side of the business, my seamstress side of things. And then I just got my LLC, Rough Diamond Designs and Publications. So the next projects that I have will be self-published.
So I know you're going to apply for a grant because we're going to have those grants and scholarships.
Yes, I need it.
So, we about to do it, you know.
Yeah.
Shout out to the Black women that doing their thing, like they just doing their thing. They just doing their thing. They just doing their thing. You know. I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm excited. I am excited. I'm excited. I'm just excited. I'm so excited about the folks that are coming into my circle now because it lets me know that I'm in a good place.
Yeah, I think so.
You know,
I think so. A lot of things, like for me lately, a lot of things have just been connecting. Like, you
Wow.
know, you'll think about something and then it starts happening. And it's positive things. And it may not be like, it's too many similarities lately. So I'm like, oh, okay, I know I'm ready. Like, am I ready? I'm ready. I feel like I got to get ready for the blessings, because I'm not used to things going well. You know what I mean? I'm not used to things connecting. Like the way that this happened, us linking up, things that you're saying or things that are here, things that I'm thinking, so that everything's connecting. You know what I mean? So I feel like I'm on the right path.
You are.
Which is exactly where I'm ready to be. So it's like you said, that self-talk. You start changing the way you talk to yourself. You start to ask for what you want and be confident in it. And then it'll start happening,
Sure.
So
I received that. I wanted to talk one thing real quick. They just saw a white snow owl on the beach. That was some random shit, like great. But no, seriously. Do you know the last time I saw a white snow owl
mm-mm.
was in Narnia? Did you remember Narnia?
Mm-hmm.
The movie Narnia?
He was on what beach? Here? Locally?
He was local. Like literally. Like it was a white snow owl. And they say they haven't spotted a white snow owl in over 20 years. Like it is really happening. Like there is some spiritual essence happening in our world. And you need to get in tune. You need to get in tune. I invite you to take a look at what's happening. That is not spooky. That was in the CNN news last week. It was spotted on the beach. That's heavy. A white snow owl. They are almost extinct. I don't know what it means. It's not spooky to me. What it just meant for me was that it's just healing time. It is definitely healing time. The earth is alive. Our ancestors are alive. Spirits are alive. You know, get connected. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of your power. Tap into the things that are happening that are connecting around your life. Say yes.
Yes.
Shonda Rhimes had a book a year. Yes.
Say yes.
Let 2020. You know what? I'm gonna put that affirmation out there right now. Let 2020 be a year. Yes. I say yes. I say yes. Like what's happening? Yes. Do you want to do it? Yes. Because I'm literally sitting here on this show tonight. I have 3 invites tonight that I need to show up for. And I'm just like, yes. I remember Shonda Rhimes had like 9 shows on at one night. Like without exaggeration, I think it was like 5 of them on Channel 6. Like remember the Scandal, Grey's Anatomy.
Oh, all that was on at one time?
It was all at one night.
Wow.
All on Thursday nights.
Wow.
Shondaland. I think it was called Shondaland. I think it was like 4 of them without exaggeration. And she said she spent a year of yes when she was producing all those shows. So like, if you want to be successful, just say yes. Take a risk and just move forward.
You can't be scared.
You can't be scared.
And I can say that because I had to be scared. I'd be scared. I'd be like, oh, can I do that? And then I do it and I'd be like, yeah, I did that. I'm telling you, it's the little girl. The little girl, she didn't get that. She didn't know she could do it. So I have to talk to her and keep telling her, girl, we can do this.
Yes. I remember, that's one of my conversations. I'm going to say this and I'm going to wrap it up. One of my conversations that I have with myself, I remember the little choo-choo train that could. Remember the choo-choo train? Did you ever read that nursery rhyme? I think I can. I'll be like, yo, I know I got this.
Yeah. He just thought he could.
I think I can. You
gotta know it too sometimes.
Thank you again, man. Have a
Thank
hug.
you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. It was so nice meeting you. And
yes. Let's close out, family. I don't know what I missed. I think I was waiting for another couple to come in. They didn't make it. They texted me and said they couldn't make it. I was checking to see if they could text me and said they were downstairs or anything. Hand on your heart, hand on your chest. I invite you to close out with me with some self-love affirmations. Please put your hand on your chest. Doesn't matter if it's your left or your right, whichever feels comfortable for you. I'm loving on me today. Repeat after me, please. I am worthy of love.
Worthy of love.
I am more than enough.
More than enough.
I am successful.
I am successful.
And I am growing through. Ashe. Have a blessed week. I'll see you guys again next Thursday. And until we meet again, stay healing, stay connected, and let's start writing. A friend of mine, her and I are going to fast for the solstice. You can join us if you want, and we can talk about that next week. We're going to fast from the 14th to the 21st because winter solstice comes in on the 21st. So we're going to be very intentional to cleanse ourselves out, do a liquid fast in the daytime, and eat something light at night. In the afternoon, when the sun goes down, we're going to do a very intentional fast, a self-healing fast. So I invite you to do the same. We're moving into a new decade. Clear your energy out. Michelle, anything?
No, I'm just ready. I'm open and I'm ready.
Also, besides anything else, we're doing. I'm doing hosting a vision board workshop. I forgot all about it. I was so busy pushing the expo. January 11th, I'll post a flyer on my page. January 11th, we're doing a vision board workshop. Myself and Gemini Gems. We are. I'm facilitating the Gemini workshop, and Gemini Gems is assisting me in that. Because we really want to talk about creating a vision board, seeing, putting a plan in motion.
See, that's another connection. I just told my daughter we're going to do that this weekend. We're going to the dollar store, buying poster board. We're scrapping out magazines, and we're going to start putting things on there that are what we want, things that we're interested in, and looking at them.
Ashe. So January 11th, we're doing it up Broad Street, 64th and Broad. We're making it work. We're making it do what it do. So you can let me know if you want tickets to that. It's $10, and we ask that if you want to bring some magazines, you can. But supplies, they'll be provided for you.
Yeah, that's important.
Scissors, glue, and some magazines. So if you have some magazines you want to donate, you can do that as well. So I didn't mean to say that before I closed out. I really wanted to close out. Philly, we're done. Thank you to AE Radio for having us and continue to keep the doors open so we can stay here. Yeah, that's it. Thank you. Peace.
Thank you.
I did. We done?